right. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks. It went away. The slides went away.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, we're looking at your desktop now.
All right. Is it back?
Not seeing any sharing at all.
There's something happening with the audio.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Cool. You want to kick us off?
Yeah. So welcome everyone to the Tech Talks by Collab Lab. Today I'm Rachel Fishoff. I am a former participant in both the regular project and the advanced project of Collab Lab. Continue to volunteer with them. And today we have a tech talk entitled, What is Site Reliability Engineering? The recipe I followed to become one, with Anastasia Kondatrieva. And then just a little about Anastasia. Anastasia was born in Russia, grew up in Spain in Valencia, and currently lives in Seville in Andalusia, Spain, and translated from a translator to a Linux system administrator, and is currently working as a junior site reliability engineer at Clarity AI, and is also a lover of cats. And Andrew is going to introduce the Collab Lab a little bit.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. So glad to see you all. So the talk is sponsored by the Collab Lab, and I know several of you are familiar with the Collab Lab, but the Collab Lab is a US-based nonprofit that helps early career developers learn how software teams work. So it's really it's a hard thing to simulate if you're just kind of learning on your own, or even most boot camps don't do this stuff very well. But what we do is we put people on teams. They work through a project over the course of 8 weeks under the guidance of professional developers, and you learn how to pair program and how to submit a PR and do a code review and demo your work and just basically like talk out loud about code, maybe sometimes for the first time. So we're super happy to be kind of sponsoring the Tech Talk series, and I'm really excited for Anastasia's talk here. I feel like I've learned a lot about SRE in the last year, but probably that's like still like I'm a manager, so like I have a manager's understanding of it. So I'm really excited to hear what the talk's about. But so that's sort of the Collab Lab. I don't know, Rachel, if you want to kind of go through the other points on the slide.
Yeah, so all our talks are recorded and posted on YouTube. So if you feel free to, if you don't want to be recorded, to not have video or mute yourself, we'll put a link to the recordings on the meetup page. There are live captions using Zoom's closed caption feature. And what you're going to do is you would click, is it enable or show subtitle? Please read the code of conduct that we have listed. And like Andrew said, we are a nonprofit, so consider sponsoring us at the link below. And off to Anastasia.
Okay, I will start sharing my screen. Let's see if it works this time. I hope so. Just give me a second. This one. You're seeing it right now? Okay, yep, everything works fine. Okay, so hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Collab Lab for this opportunity. I was very excited. And actually, this is my first talk in English, so bear with me, please. And I really want to thank the Collab Lab because I think it's really important to keep the diversity in our sector, like in the tech community, and they're really doing that. So thank you very much. And let's start. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what's SRE, or Site Reliability Engineering. I think it's kind of important to know the context or where I come from, because my path wasn't like the very conventional one. In 2019, I was a translator, and at the mid 2019, I decided like I had an epiphany or whatever, and I decided to change and start learning by myself online and become a Linux system administrator. Actually, funny story was that by the time the pandemic was about to start, I kind of gave up on finding my first job and I was looking for another job and actually got a contract for a call center. And then the pandemic started and that contract was canceled. So I decided to study a little bit more. And 2 months after that, I had my first job opportunity. So the last year and a half was kind of crazy for me. I started as an intern, then I transitioned to another job as junior system administrator. And about 7, 8 months ago, I started to work in the company I'm working right now as junior SRE in Clarity AI. So you can imagine it's been crazy. When I decided to study and become a Linux system administrator, I found myself that I was someone who had no tech ground whatsoever. I I wasn't born with a keyboard. I never programmed. Everyone like seems like everyone in the sector knows what they're doing from I don't know when they were like 5 years old. And when you decide to like uh, enter this world, you realize that there are a lot of stuff that's not just programming or development, and you really have to choose your own path, and you don't really know what to do. So as you can see here, you can become a programmer, a developer, you can go into management, you go into cybersecurity, SRE, data, QA, whatever. So at that point, you find yourself wondering, like, I have no clue what I'm gonna do and how I'm gonna start and what I have to do to start in this community, in this tech sector. So I will just let you know how I became SRE, because I think the contact in this aspect is very important, to know the knowledge I had to gain in order to start working in what I was working. The first thing I had to do was to look what I had on my table, like what ingredients did I had, what I could do with all of them. First of all, I asked the people around me what they were doing, like what they were working on, not only what like title they had, but actually what they were doing, what a developer does, what a manager does, what a system administrator does, and like what's their day to day, just to decide what was better for me. Because I'm the kind of people who thinks that if you enter a sector like the tech community when you're older, maybe, or after another career, you do have to like it, because it won't be easy. It will be tough. So there's some people that say that you don't have to actually love it to be good at it. I do think that you still have to have that little thing that is like, I'm doing what I want. So after considering all the options, I had to choose also the way I would want to study, because obviously right now, especially now that there are a lot of online content, you can choose between like something more official, like for example, a university degree, or you can go for boot camps, or you can be as crazy as I am and go for self like study online and be a self-taught person. So obviously studying by yourself is not for everyone. I thought that I had some things that would might help me with that, and I didn't want to enroll in a larger program for many years. So I decided to just try it and do it by myself. Um, Also, I looked at the job offers. I looked what job offers we were looking for and made a list. It was a really like a little tiny list of things that I wanted to learn, because after talking with people who were in system administration at this point and looking at the job offers, I can kind of know what I might want to know at like after 5 or 6 months of studying. And then I thought about the pros and cons of actually becoming a system administrator, because the first thing people usually do, especially when they switch career, is look at programming, because programming is everywhere. Development is everywhere. It's like the most visible part of IT. So the decision to become a system administrator wasn't like the natural one, but I did like it more. I'm one of those people that don't like programming at all. So good to say, being in an IT sector, but I don't like programming. So I liked many things about system administration, and I also considered the pros and cons of actually doing that. The cons obviously were that there's not a lot of right now. The things change after COVID. There are more job offers, at least in Spain, that are related to system administration. But before that, it was a typical, a thing that when everything goes fine in the company, why would you need a system administrator? And then everything goes wrong, why the hell we have a system administrator? So it was a really weird profile, and there were not a lot of offers. So it was a negative thing. But the positive thing was that, point number one, there are not a lot of women. So I had a special motivation to that. And also, it will be easier for me to make the company see me because I was different, because not many people go to system administrator. So that was a positive thing. And maybe it was a better chance to find a better job, despite there were more job offers as programmer or a developer. And I also had to look at my strengths and my weaknesses, as everyone. We all have them. And obviously, my greatest weakness at that point was that I had no tech background whatsoever. I had no idea about Linux, or I had no idea of how to, I had no idea that you could control a computer with a console, that there were commands. I had like nothing. So at that point, that was my weakest point. But I also had my strength, that I'm like, I can study by myself. At that point, when remote became real, I'm quite an independent person, so I could kind of work my way through a problem. I speak few languages, which is a positive thing. So, I kind of had everything in front of me and decided that, yeah, okay, it might be risky, but I can go for it and start to study. I have to say that the most important thing that I've learned, and I keep learning as I am SRE, is patience. Patience is something that I don't have. I'm struggling every day. And actually, as I told you before, I almost wasn't patient enough. I was working very hard. I was studying every day, but I was about to drop it off because I thought I wouldn't find my first job. And just 2 months after I decided that, I found my first job. So as I tell you here, if you follow the recipe, if you have everything organized, if you're sure that you want to do it, if you're working hard enough, at the end, the dough will double its size, but you just have to be patient enough. Also, it's important to mention that the recipe I follow to become what I am right now, which is junior site reliability engineer, is not a universal one. You just have to find your own. And right now, we are in the moment where the tech sector gives us a lot of opportunities, a lot of different ones, and you can really, really, really make something on your own. And it's one of the sectors where you don't need to have official studies. You don't have to be in the university necessary. You just have to have the knowledge and the desire to learn. So the way I got here, it was a little bit of luck, a lot of work, and I don't know, a little bit of craziness and crazy ideas. But at the end, it was my own fault. But also many people that I know achieved that. I'm meaning that they changed their career, they learned how to program from scratch, for example, and right now they're working on it. So that was till 7 months ago. And 7 months ago, a funny story, I was working in a very large company as a junior system administrator. It was a very tough job. I was working in shifts, morning shifts, night shifts, evening shifts, and I was really tired, very stressed. And I decided that I needed to change. I've been working there only for about 6 months, but I realized I had nothing else to get from there. So I published a tweet. I'm quite active in Twitter. And surprisingly, because all the previous months I was involved in many communities, a lot of people answered to that tweet. And they shared it saying that I was looking for a job. And after some time, I got a lot of job offers. And actually, at the end, I had to choose one from few of them. So it was a really funny way to get my first official big job. But at the end, I got it. But when I saw the offer, I saw it said SRE. I had no idea what SRE was really. I knew what system administration was. I knew what DevOps was, but SRE was a new thing. So I had to learn a lot since the beginning. Also, I'm a person that's really lucky in my boss really likes to teach people. So he gave me a lot of resources to understand what SRE is, what do we do, what we're supposed to do, and that kind of stuff. So I've been learning since then, and I keep learning about it. What SRE is like a role that Google invented a few years ago. Right now, it's becoming more independent, but at the beginning, it was a role that Google invented. Sorry, and the theory states that it's what you get when you treat operations as if it was a software problem. So as an SRE, our mission is to protect, provide for, and progress the software and systems behind all of our services with an ever watchful eye on their availability, latency, performance, and capacity. A lot of words, a lot of theory. What this means is that a part of an SRE team, in general, you respond for the availability, latency, performance, efficiency, change management, monitoring, emergency response, and capacity planning of their services. You can think of services as an application or a web or an infrastructure. Whatever you might think of, we're responsible for its correct, workflow. We make sure that everything works fine, and there are a lot of things to it. We will see it right now. If we get simpler, SRE is the practical application of the DevOps philosophy. Actually, many of the things we follow working as SRE have to do with concepts that you already have in a DevOps philosophy. For example, we try to eliminate the silos, meaning that this old company structure where system administrator works by its own, the developer works in its own thing, they never speak to each other, they have different interests, and then they fight with each other because they have different goals. We try to eliminate that. We try to work with all of the teams in the company, back ends, front ends, data, all of us work together in the same goal. Also, we have the idea of automation, which is very present in the DevOps philosophy. Everything that can be automated should be automated. So when we have spare time, that's what we do. Also, we're very aware that things are going to fail. This is something very present in DevOps philosophy too. We're prepared for the failure, meaning that when some process is really difficult, a few years ago you tried to avoid it. For example, if you have to migrate a database, you would just prepare for it, just hold your breath, do it. Everything went fine, you just forget about it. Okay, we were lucky, that's it. What we try to do is repeat the complex processes as much as we can in order to learn from them. Obviously, right now the technology allows us to do so without any, for example, service loss. But what we do is just face the failure and face the complex processes and learn from them. And finally, this is something really related to the patients. We're very aware that everything we do has to do with a very complex infrastructure. Even the smallest company, the company I'm working right now, it's about 110 people. The infrastructure is insane. We're working in cloud. There are a lot of things to do. And it's not about making a big, amazing, and very visible change. It's about making little, small changes, do it little by little, and be aware that the change, the big change, the change that people might see from the outside will not be there until, I don't know, many months, or even, I don't know, never. Sometimes changes we perform are really important, but no one ever sees them. So you have to be aware of that. So, okay, this is getting really tricky. To be a SRE, I should tell you that I'm just learning. I'm junior SRE, so I have some of this knowledge. I don't have many of this knowledge, and some of them are, it's work in progress. So this is the theory, okay? So the theory states that an SRE have to have this kind of knowledge. You have to know about development, meaning that obviously you have to know about programming, about continuous integration to continuous delivery, about automation. You have to know about operations. You have to know how to monitorize your infrastructure. And even if you're monitorizing it a lot, as I said before, things fail. So you have to always be able to respond quickly if an incident arises or if there's a problem. And also, obviously, you have to have the system administration knowledge, meaning that you have to know about network and operating systems, connectivity, infrastructure, services, and how do they connect to each other. There are a lot of things in the ball. And you might say, this is this. No. Accessory is a quite new role. Most of the companies, and I would say all of the companies that hire SREs or have an SRE team, tend to have specific tools, more modern tools if you wish. So you will have to know about infrastructure as code, about public clouds, about containers, about security, because something very important that people sometimes miss is that right now, yeah, we are provided with the infrastructure in, for example, AWS, but we are the ones responsible of securing it. So security is more important than ever. Also, you really need to understand the philosophy of the company and the product you're developing. When you're a SRE, it's even more important than in other roles because, as I told you, we work with all the company, all the teams. So we do have to know where we're going, what we have to do, and how do we need to work with all the rest of the teams to achieve the main goal of the company. And finally, you have to have the soft skills. Everyone should have them: patience, global vision, and communication. All of this should be cooked in a DevOps philosophy pot for a long, long while. And that's basically how you get an SRE. What do you do with this knowledge? The theory, which is always amazing, beautiful, and easy, states that 50% of our time is dedicated to developing the infrastructure, making it better, automation, to, I don't know, make our code cleaner, many of this stuff. And the other 50% should be dedicated to operations, meaning that problems that might arise, alerts, I don't know, pipelines that fail, users that have permissions issues. The theory is amazing, but real life sometimes sucks. So the reality is things get burned a lot. Sometimes you have a beautiful week where everything is amazing. You are totally in peace with yourself and you can improve the infrastructure. And then suddenly something happens and the next 2 weeks are totally crazy. You have a lot of operations, you have no time to do anything whatsoever. So, and you're just trying to solve the problems. Because as I told you, despite where now we're getting to more reliable and more scalable infrastructures, shit happens still. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that the amounts are not always clear, meaning that as we work with an infrastructure, the whole infrastructure of the company relies on us, meaning that there are a lot of little tiny small things, and you may start thinking, okay, I will perform this task. It's quite easy. It will take just 2 hours. And you will start with it and you will see, oh my God, I can improve that. Oh my God, I can improve that. And I also can do this. And to do this task better, I can change that, that, and that. So at the end, the task that was supposed to take you 2 hours takes 3 days. You realize you've been stuck for 4 or 5 days. And at some point you have to stop and manage your times and know when to drop it and where is the limit of the things you can change and what things can wait until later. And finally, there are many variables. As you work with different teams, teams have different interests, have different way of working, and you have to get to a common agreement. You have to be able to offer solutions that make everyone happy, which is not easy, I have to tell you. So there's many talking, many thinking, many reading, and trying to get the better solution for everyone, and that takes a lot of time too. What have I learned from all of that? I've been working as SRE for 7 months only. It's a little time. They were very intense, but it's still a little time. What I could tell you about what is SRE for me, or what are the important aspects of SRE? The company. When you work as an SRE, you have to know as much as you can about the company and how it works. There was a typo there, by the way. So it's really important because that's how you actually treat with people. Right now, for example, especially if you work remotely, you do have to have good communication skills. Speak with all the teammates, not only from your team, but from the other teams. So you understand them, know their pains, try to help them, and also know the product, as I told you before. The second thing I found since the beginning was to listen to my teammates. Right now I work in a small team where there are 4 of us and the manager, and the other 3 teammates are really senior. I'm the junior one. So they have a lot to teach me. What happens with that? When they try to explain something to me, the explanations tend to be very complex. They start being easy, but there are a lot of context behind. So at the end, we have a really long calls, and there's a lot of information. At the beginning, I thought it wasn't necessary to take note of everything because it seemed like an extra, but then I realized that it's a huge puzzle, And as the time goes by, you really, really appreciate those little notes that seem to have no sense whatsoever, but now they make sense because you kind of have the whole puzzle with you. So just listen to everything my teammates say. The other thing I realized is the importance of theory versus real life. As you may imagine, when I told you that I started to learn by myself, I'm a little crazy in that sense. And it's like, okay, I don't need like a really formal, learning structure. I can do it by myself. I'm totally fine. And now I do realize that in my day to day, I work with tools like in a practical way, but a theoretical teaching, like learning, is also really nice. So that's why right now I've started to study for a few certifications just to have my mind, uh, don't go crazy with everything, because practical knowledge is fine, but theory is really important sometimes. Also, the philosophy of everything we do. Right now, and each time this idea grows, you have to be more aware of why you do things. Like not only why I'm creating this tool or why I'm doing this thing. You really need to know why are you doing this. So you need to have the philosophical background. What is SRE? What is DevOps? What is Scrum? What is Agile? Why are we doing this? What is our goal? So to read not only technical, like purely technical things, but also more theoretical stuff, if you prefer, is really important. And as I told you before, patience is one of my main things I've learned. When you study, especially when you're starting in tech in general, changes are really, really slow. It seems like you're working a lot and there's no change. But trust me, at some point, everything makes sense, but you have to be really patient and not get really anxious on your way, which is quite difficult. And finally, the one of the best qualities I think that an SRE or any person can have is the capacity to ask why. Like ask ask yourself really why I'm doing this, why I'm doing it this way and not the other way, and use all of your positive things or your knowledge, but don't take anything for granted. For example, I come from a Linux system administrator, a classical one, like with servers and servers that you can actually touch. They're always like your pets. And go to an SRE mentality and start in the cloud, and everything is so different that you really have to change your state of mind, but you still don't have to leave behind the classical system administration. So I learned that that was really important. Don't take anything for granted and take advantage of what you already know. And finally, I always want to say, like, leave a little disclaimer behind. Um, you may think that this is amazing. I work like from home and I work in amazing infrastructure, like really techy company. It's everything is very exciting. My days are really different. And yes, that's true. But there are also bad things about it. I mean, it's not about eating. It's you will have to get your hands dirty too, especially if you're a junior, being SRE or being in any other tech role, sometimes you feel really overwhelmed. You may go to a meeting and there's a person from backend and another person from frontend, and they're talking about their stuff, and you don't understand anything, and you still have to try to keep up, take notes, and try to understand later what's going on. And you have to study all the time. Like I'm fortunate enough, I have study time during my work hours 2 times a week, but I also have to study afterwards because I always feel that I'm behind. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to keep up, and also difficult to not get fed up and leave everything behind. So that's why you also have to consider that it's a tough sector. You have to really like it and really be ready for it. And finally, one of the latest advices I can give you, you should celebrate your small victories because they're the base of big achievements. For example, my teammates create amazing infrastructures and connect a lot of stuff together. And I was able, like 3 months ago, I was able to create my first S3 bucket with Terraform. Okay, it's not compared, but I still had to celebrate it because it's the beginning of something. And if you don't celebrate it, it can be really tough. And finally, if you wanna know the better, my last advice, everything is better with French fries. So.
Thank you.
I think it was so fast. Sorry.
No, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Would you be open to answering questions if people have questions? Yeah. So feel free to either unmute yourself or drop them in the chat.
Wait. I don't know if I'm still sharing. I think yes.
I have a question. I was gonna say, now, did you say what you did before your switch into tech, or did I miss that?
Yeah, I was a translator, Russian to
Okay.
Spanish.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So
Okay.
Nothing to do with tech.
No, definitely. Okay.
I had to say that my partner is system administrator, so I kind of had some inspiration from him,
Okay.
but I had no idea. So like 2 years ago, he just told me, "Okay, your laptop is slow. Let's install Linux," and I was like, "What?" And we installed Linux, and from that moment on, I was just freaking out what I could do. So, but before that, I was the typical person who had like Windows, played games, and that's it.
So yeah, in the chat, there's a question from Heather that says, are there any resources you recommend for learning the tools used as an SRE?
When I started to study, as I told you, I studied Linux system administration. So I do think that you have to have that base, which is basically Linux system administration. But I used a lot Linux Academy, which I think it's not Linux Academy anymore. I think it's called Cloud Guru or something like that, because they have both. They have like system administration courses and they have cloud DevOps style courses. And for me, it was really like a really cheap alternative because I paid a month and I could do all the courses they have. So I shouldn't like waste too much money. And also the communities. I'm really grateful for what the communities can offer. I'm not sure about US, but in Spain we have a lot of communities and they make like talks and you can ask for something or you can, I don't know, be involved in a project together, something that always that was my, I think, my best, the best place I got the knowledge from.
And then Diego has a question of, what is the most difficult thing that you've learned in the past 7 months?
I think that the most difficult thing was to know that being the person who knows less in the room is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. I suffered a lot because at some point I had no idea what was going on. Many times I have no idea what's going on. But right now I'm able to just breathe, wait a little bit, and just say, okay, I will look it up, and maybe tomorrow we'll come back and know what's going on. So the knowledge that you don't have to know everything. Not even senior people know everything. You just need to work, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I can relate and identify with like learning to embrace knowing the least in the room and just that beginner's mindset and the humbling. Yeah. Do we have any other questions right now? Well, I do know that for the well, it's late for you and that it's like lunchtime for a fair amount of folks. So if y'all want to wrap this up early, we can do that. I will post the link on YouTube either later today or tomorrow on the meetup page, and then it will be on our website as well. But I just wanted to thank you so much, Anastasia. This talk was great. It was super approachable with all the cooking metaphors. The presentation was great for your first English talk. I think it went phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I should say that you will be forever my first English talk. So
yeah, I'm so
that.
grateful that we were able to do this and that we were able to finally, I know David had recommended you a few months ago and that we were finally able to make it happen. So thanks so much for that.
Thank you, David. I know he's in the call. So. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
I am.
So thank you, David. It was a really amazing experience, and I'm really glad to discover Collab Lab actually. And I've been following you since then, and I will continue following you guys.
Well, that's great. Yeah, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon, and we'll see everyone in about 2 weeks for our next Tech Talk.
So, bye.
Bye-bye.